Well, we're really excited. We're just about to launch a new fast track class. It's called From Agent to Advisor. And in the past, we've done a number of other fast track courses, and this is going to be a little different. And we're going to talk about why that's going to be different. And we're going to talk about how top agents earn trust with your clients, earn referrals, and then build a predictable pipeline. So, as you know, for some of you might know who I am. I'm a MAPS coach. I've been doing this for a while. Been in real estate for 20 years and sold $1 billion of real estate. Been in Gary's top 100 group for, gosh, 13 years. And most recently was on the MREA podcast with Jason Abrams. But coming out in February will be a new book called Property Decisions, Avoiding Family Disputes and Painful Taxes to Create a Legacy That Lasts. And that's going to be available for all of you as a tool to get listings. Next. So what I'm here to share with you is what I found is the old model. I said the old agent model, like me, right? The old model is broken, right? We're all tired of the same things, endless chasing of leads and getting this commission pressure and having all these price objections from our clients and also just having an unstable business and unstable pipeline, right? And this just doesn't work for us anymore. It's not because we're not working hard, right? It's not because of work ethic. It's really because we're of positioning, how we position ourselves in the marketplace with our client, but also how we add value and really what the value is. Next. So the market's been changing, right? Right now, there's in many markets, there's a high inventory. There's more listings on the market. There's a ton more marketing out there. You'll see it all. You're competing at a different level than you did 5 years ago, right? And there's more competition. There's more agents out there, and there's more brokerage firms than we've ever had. But there's actually fewer confident decisions out there. See, your clients, the people that you're trying to attract, they're really interested in the value you provide, right? So here's your question: what value are you providing? Are you really providing a value that they're looking for, right? See, because today's clients are just overwhelmed and they're just frankly uninformed, right? Next. So here's the real difference. You know, most agents, and that used to be me many years ago, was I would compete on listings and I would compete on the marketing and also in price, right? I would go in and say, hey, to win your listing, I'll give you free staging and or look at my marketing, that kind of thing, right? Well, today the top advisors in the last about 8 years or so, we've built a different model, and we now compete on clarity, we compete on confidence, and we compete on the trust that they see in us, right? And that's a different game, right? Next. So what are they really looking for? Right now, today, your clients, you're finding that many of our clients are getting older. Did you know that 51% of all listings are baby boomers and their parents? So the sellers that you're trying to find out there, they're older now, right? And they have problems, they have challenges. And it's your goal to find those problems, identify them, and bring the solutions to the table. That's how you win. That's how I won over the last 20 years and sold $1 billion of real estate. Okay. Also, what's happening is there's a lot of inherited properties out there. People are passing away. Did you know that 2.1 million older adults are going to die in the next 12 months? And 80% of them own real estate. See, a vast majority of I think this last year we closed just north of 80 units, just over $80 million of business in a down market in our area. And they traveled a lot. But many of our clients is because somebody passed away and then somebody had to sell. That's called a trust sale. Understanding trust sales will matter for you, and understanding the language around that and how do you bring value to that will attract that client. It's just a massive amount of people out there that they're older, they bought it a long time ago, and guess what? They've got tons of equity. They just don't know how to tap into it. What if you could be the solution to that? See, many of our clients they're land rich but cash poor, and you can be the solution to that. And then a lot of them also, they just don't want to sell, frankly, because of taxes, capital gains taxes in particular. understanding capital gain taxes, understanding the conversation around protecting that is going to add value, right? Capital gain taxes in my world is the number one enemy to generational wealth. And if you can be that solution, if you can understand it, if you can have the language around it, if you can do the math around it, if you had a calculator to it, you're going to show up differently. And that's what our clients are telling us over the last 10 years. We've built an engine around how to show up. We've got 20-year-old newer agents that are winning $3 million clients. Why? Not because of years of experience, not because they're great looking. It's because they have knowledge and value. And that's why they're winning. Right? And these situations that they're coming through, they're big decisions or life decisions. It's not just a sales event. It's not like I want to go and sell, right? They have a problem. And so we have to see the market differently. Next. Did you know that 70% of families are going to have a fight after their parents pass away? Family disputes are happening over and over every day. And this data actually comes from attorneys that are telling us this. Why is that? Well, it's not because of greed, right? It's because they just have a lack of clarity of how to do this and what it should look like, right? And they have no plan to that, right? Many of them never even put it in a trust. Do you know what happens if you die and you have the property in your name? It's gonna go to probate. Yeah, probate's a horrible experience for those you love the most because you're gonna be dead at that time, right? So knowing these things, we have a whole course on probate as well. Trust sales and probate sales. Why? Because 2.1 million people are going to die in 12 months every single year. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what the tariffs are. It matters about life. Right? And what we do is we provide solutions to those people in those situations. Right? Add value, bring enough knowledge, and then you become the trusted advisor, which frankly they just don't have. See, the wealthy, the people that have real estate, and that's our goal, is to find the people with more than one property, right? When you find that person, well, they've got a trust attorney, they got a CPA, and they got a financial planner, and they have wealth in real estate. So who manages and who plans their real estate? Nobody does, right? We see very smart doctors, lawyers, attorneys have multiple properties, and either their trust isn't written well, or they don't have one, or they don't have a plan. They just think, don't worry, the kids will share it at the end. The data says it doesn't work that way, does it? 70% of families are fighting. Next. So here's the shift that I'd like you to make. Today agents are, and this used to be me, don't get me wrong, up until about a decade ago, I did the same thing. I would go in and say, hey, look how great I am. I'm number one in my market, right? None of you say that. Here's all my success. I've sold X number of sales. This is why you should hire me, right? Oh, and by the way, since we're competing, why don't I give you a discount on my commissions? Right? Let me give you a free staging, right? But we're not asking questions. We're there to tell them something because that's what we're told to do. Frankly, though, that's an old mindset and that needs to change. Why? Because clients don't care how great you are. Who do they care about? They care about them. They're going to work with somebody and they're going to trust somebody that looks after their best needs, right? So the advisor asks questions. When I go into a listing presentation, we call them, we change the language of listing presentation to a strategy session. Why? Because everybody has listing presentations. We're not here to list your property. You're here to create a strategy for you that adds value. You see, just in words alone, you can change the way people see you, right? And what we want to do is we want to determine what matters most to the client. So the first question I ask is, what are you looking for in your agent, right? Give me the top 3 things that you're looking for in your agent. And frankly, most people don't even know. So I stop them in their tracks early on in the conversation, and I ask them those questions, and they slowly give me an answer. And that's the only things I talk about. When I come to the strategy sessions, because we're very clear with them, it's a strategy session. I'm going to ask them, what would you like to get accomplished in our 60 minutes together today? And I'm going to look at my watch and I'm going to look down and I'm going to be silent. Why? Because it's not about me. See, most salespeople will go in and say, look how great I am. And they're just going to start talking over that person. Our goal is to identify the problem. You can't do that by asking questions, right? So we're going to ask a lot of questions to identify what their problems are, be very clear on those problems, and then solve them. This is, ladies and gentlemen, how you're going to win listings, right? What's causing you to want to sell, right? Not why are you selling? So words matter. What's causing you? There's always a cause in somebody doing something in their life. What's causing you to consider selling? Right? And now they see you differently, right? And you're going to add greater value to that client. Next. So there's 5 advisor pillars that we came up with that we believe will help you guide your clients to proper questions. Number 1 is clarity. What's going on? Tell me about your situation. What are you looking for in your buy? Okay? What's causing you to want to buy? What's motivating you? Right? Right? And options, like once you find out why they're doing what they're doing, what's causing them to do that, then we're going to really give them some options. See, most agents are going to say, well, this is what you got to do. Nobody wants to be told that. They want to make their own decisions. And how do you do that if somebody's telling you what to do? Yesterday, I had a guy come in and he was expecting me to tell him what to do. I didn't. I gave him 5 options, right? And then I helped him self-discover what his best option was. And guess what? He'll probably sign with us, right? Because people want to know their options. They want to know what you know. And you got to know some things, right? And so in the training, you're going to learn a lot of different options that you probably never heard of before. Why? Because it's not common. It just isn't, right? We're changing the industry. We're elevating the realtor past the real estate planner all the way up to real estate and wealth advisor. And that's our latest mission, is to build real estate wealth advisors, right? Not salespeople, not realtors, advisors, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to share with them the consequences of waiting or inaction. Here's what happens if you do or don't do this, right? This is what it's going to look like, right? An alignment, right? And alignment is within their family, within their lifestyle and what they want to accomplish in their life, timing, but also taxes, right? We're going to talk about all of these concepts in this 60 minutes with our client. We use a plan method. Plan is we're going to talk about all their properties. We're going to talk about their longevity, what they see in their life until the end, right? How that's going to look, what they desire. We're going to look at their assets, all the assets they own, and then we're going to look at the end, the next generation. We create plans. Yesterday in that meeting with that guy, he said to me, so Dan, why are you asking me all these questions? I said, well, because that's the only way I can help you create a plan. And he goes, oh, because we care. I'm not going to come here and tell you what to do just to sell it for me to make money. That's not the goal. The goal is to help you build the life you desire in the way you want it to. And I can't be the judge of that. And yeah, he'll probably be selling $2 million properties. Okay. And then getting support, right? Support without pressure, guidance without pressure. I didn't tell him what to do. I didn't say, hey, if you sign today, this is what we'll do. No, I didn't do that, right? Many people do. And it works for some. It just doesn't work for me because advisors don't show up that way. So think of yourself as a financial planner, right? When you go into a financial planner, they're going to give you options. They're going to give you ideas. They're not going to necessarily tell you what you need to do. They might say, if you're looking to do this, then this is what I would do. Yeah, that makes sense. Right. Next slide. Imagine yourself being seen as a trust attorney, a CPA, and a financial planner. In that same space, earning a seat at the table with the wealthy is what we want to do. And why are we getting referrals? 68% of all of our business is referrals. And many of them come from people that do not expect a payment for that referral. I don't give them 25%. Why? Because I give them clients, right? I'm referring back and forth clients every day. We're calling these folks. We have relationships with them, deep relationships with them, and they support us and we support them. Right? Because some point in time, a CPA, a trust attorney, or a financial planner is going to have a client that says, geez, I don't know what to do. My house doesn't work for me anymore. Where do I go? And they say, I think you need to call the ER team. They have solutions for you, right? Someone's going to say that, man, I just need money, but it's all tied up in the house and I don't know what to do. And the financial planner does not want them to sell the assets that the financial planner is making money on, right? Well, and for those of you, most of you probably know this, but some may not, and I'm finding many in their country do not know this, the Internal Revenue Code 121. Internal Revenue Code 121 says if you lived in a property 2 out of the last 5 years, the government's going to give you $250,000 tax-free dollars. Married couple living in the property, $500,000 of tax-free dollars. So if the home doesn't fit you now, and it doesn't look like it's going to fit you in the future, and if you sold it today, you could take $500,000 out tax-free. See, understanding that, that's how you're going to make friends with the financial planner. Because most agents don't. Most agents don't have conversations around this. We do all the time, right? Because it's an educational process. Remember, your value comes from giving information that they don't know. And 9 out of 10 people don't know Internal Revenue Code 121, don't know Internal Revenue Code 1031, don't know Internal Revenue Code 721. They don't know them. Advisors do. Wealth advisors do. And that's why we're going to encourage you to learn some of this. Right? And they have investment properties, but they say, you know what, I don't want them anymore, but I just don't want to pay the tax. So they get stuck. They don't know what to do. What if you became the master of 1031 exchanges? See, I've sold over 400 1031 exchanges, and I've never failed one. And I'm told that I became the national expert in 1031 exchanges because I've done the most in the residential space. And I understand the different options and solutions that most people don't know. That's why they come to me. That's why financial planners send them our way. That's why attorneys send them our way. And that's why CPAs send them our way. Why? Because we have information that they don't know. Okay? Or they have rental properties that they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what their options are, right? By the way, if you were to ask somebody, what's your cap rate on your investment property, no one will know the answer. And most realtors won't even know how to calculate it. See the difference of being an advisor versus being an agent? If you don't know how to mathematically calculate capital gains tax or do an asset performance test to measure cash on cash, and cap rate, you're an average agent. You just are. Right? You don't want to be that person. You want to be an advisor. And it's not hard to do that. It just takes focused effort. As Gary always says, focus on what matters most. If you want to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, then learn to do that and join our class. We're going to teach you how to do that. Next slide. Next. So here's your transformation. You know, before you were chasing leads and you had to defend your commission, right? Or it's your income is inconsistent, right? That's a problem, right? Many of our clients, they're going to come in and they ask me what my commission is, and I'm going to tell them, and they don't ask me any more questions. Why? Because I bring in a value. See, they don't question my commissions. And I actually get a lot more apples than the rest of the apples out there, right? But when you become an advisor, though, you're going to start to elevate your knowledge. When you elevate your knowledge, you elevate your value. And that's why clients don't question me on my commissions. You're going to identify problems that they probably didn't even see. And then you're going to bring solutions to them that they didn't even know. And they're going to go, huh, my agent couldn't do that. And I always ask them, because many times clients will kind of come in and they tell me they have an agent and say, well, all I ask is that you give me an opportunity to earn your business. And if you after you meet with me, you feel that you still need to use your agent, so be it. Have a nice day, right? But why do people just use us and they say to me, Dan, I'm going to have a hard time telling my agent I can't use them. I said, oh, don't worry about it. They'll get over it. Why do they do that? Because I brought more value to them. And I asked them the specific question is, do you believe your current agent could do what we just did for you? 100% of them said no. 100% of them. Why? Because we've got systems to this. Remember, 20 years, over 1,600 sales. We got good at this, guys. And we have a model. And that's why Gary asked me to do these trainings and be a coach and write this book. Why? Because he believes that we can elevate the industry together, right? And then once you understand that, then clients are going to know that you care. Why? Because you're not telling them stuff. You're not arrogant. Yeah, you're not how great am I. You're going to talk about what matters most to them. They know you care when you ask questions. And then what happens is you're just going to build a predictable pipeline of business that keeps flowing. Yeah. The last 2 to 3 years, I was gone 167 days to 125 days the last 2 years out of our business, and business didn't drop. It actually grew last year in a down market. Why? Because we built a pipeline. We built a system around getting referrals to come to us. Next. So here's why it works. Well, what your clients are going to come in and they're going to feel automatically, they feel understood. Why? Because you're asking them questions. Understand them. They're going to feel protected. Why? Because they now know things of how to protect themselves. You've given them information. And when that happens, they become confident. Right? Price is just secondary. Most people don't even question us on our price or our commission. They don't. Why? Because they trust us. And that's really what matters most. You got to build that trust. Next. So here's your advisor moment. When the stakes are high, people don't want a salesperson. And when I say when the stakes are high is when I ask the question, is buying or selling a home a big deal to you? You go, yeah. Is it a really big deal? Yeah. Okay. So would it make sense for us to get together to help you walk you through this process? They go, yeah. Right? It's just questions, right? They want guidance, and this is where the advisor is going to win. When you bring enough information, ask enough questions, you're going to win this game. Next. So here's your next step. If you're ready to do this, just stop chasing deals already. Start guiding people and build trust, right? And what that does is it's going to help you grow your business. Our suggestion is if you're not in our community, join our community. If you're not in a fast track, join our fast track. And that's coming next, right? So you can either chase transactions or you can attract motivated sellers. It's your call, ladies and gentlemen. You get to decide what 2026 is going to look like for you. Our suggestion is you do something different, you educate yourself, you become a different person. Why? Because that's how you're going to grow and that's how you're going to succeed. Because the next decade, it's going to belong to advisors. Salespeople are going to fall off the planet. Next. So this class wasn't about, right? This class was a mindset shift, right? I wanted you to think differently how you look at real estate. Right? I want to give you a peek into what it looks like to be an advisor. It's just a peek of what you just heard today. You're going to have to join the class to understand how to move from becoming an agent to an advisor, right? And it'll give you an opportunity to grow your business. That's our suggestion. And this class was not a full class. It's not full implementation on not how to do everything. Right. This was not about skill mastery. Right. We gave you a couple questions, but that's not mastery. Right? And it wasn't about deep scenario training. In our fast track class next that you can join today, if you have your phones out, click on the QR code and you can join our fast track class today. These are the 4 dates that we have them. It's $129. But if you click on that QR code, you're going to get 15% off. Right? There's no reason why you shouldn't do this. If you want to change the way your business looks, if you want to elevate your knowledge and elevate how you show up and start attracting business, you're going to want to do that. Now, each week is a little different. In the beginning, we're going to talk about their home, right? If their home doesn't work for them, you know what the problem people have is, where do I go? How much does it cost? What does life look like? Who can help me? How do I get there? 5 questions that every older adult will have. And their kids, by the way, because sometimes it's the kids that are making these changes and moves that become our client, right? Helping mom and dad out. Because the home's typically not suitable for them any longer. And that's the number one cause of why people move. Right? Week 2, we're going to talk about the finance side of it, right? How to build wealth and protect it from taxes, right? That's where the value really starts coming in when it comes to people with money, right? You know, anybody with wealth, the number one enemy they have, if they will, you will turn their head when you use the words capital gains tax. You will turn their head. Why? Realtors aren't talking about it. But it matters to them. So how come if it matters to them, realtors aren't talking about it? Because it doesn't impact the realtor's commission. This is how you show people that you really care. Because you're not talking about stuff that impacts your life and your family. You're talking about stuff that impacts their family and their life. Right? In week 3, we talk about the future plan, how to create a real estate plan. And that's a simple question to your clients. If you leave today and just ask your clients, just curious, do you have a real estate plan? They're going to go, well, what's that? Oh, it's just a plan to help you build wealth, protect wealth, and pass on wealth. Which one of those 3 are most important to you? They're going to pick one of them. You see, questions matter. Tone and pace matter. And in this class, we're going to teach you how to do that. And in week 4, we're going to talk about becoming a real estate planner, putting it all together, right? Just understanding how to be attract business from a financial planner, a CPA, or a trust attorney, because those are the folks that send us business, and we send them business. Why? Because every single client that comes to meet with us, we ask them that question: who's your CPA? Who's your trust attorney? And who's your financial planner? And would it be okay if I reached out to them? See, ladies and gentlemen, when I got into this business 20 years ago, what I knew is I wanted to build a big business. I didn't know how to do it. I saw how everybody else was doing it. Everybody else was knocking on the door, spending tens of thousands of dollars, sending mailers out there and getting rejected. I didn't want to be that person, right? So I said, well, gosh, who has them all? And then I found that, it's the same demographic. It's not a 20 and 30-year-old. It's the baby boomer and their parent. They got the most amount of wealth in real estate. Then I said, okay, what are their problems? It's either their home or their investment property, right? Home doesn't work for them. Investment property doesn't work for them. I brought solutions to the table. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to join. This is your opportunity. This is one way that 2026 will show up differently than you ever expected. And you'll join a tribe of people that feel and see the same thing. And we encourage you to join. I think that was the last slide, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I can open up for questions. I'm sorry, I'm like a minute over time, but I do have some. I'll leave space for a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Questions? Comments? Let's see. Yep, you'll get a copy of the webinar, and Graham sent that in already. Any other questions? Hi, Karen. Thanks so much. Appreciate that.
Hi, aloha. How are you? I do actually have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So I'm working with a couple of people. In fact, one right now that's got a $20 to $40 million home. You know, it's one of those negligible things in this market right now. But we just met yesterday, and they want to figure out how much they could sell it for. Should they sell it? When are they going to sell it? Whatever. So we sat down and talked briefly. I kind of said now's not really the market, because I think if we give it about a year, the market should pick up a little bit. I said that's not the normal thing an agent would tell you, but I think we want to work what's best for you. So I kind of gave it just a short thing because we were at lunch, but I'd like to dive in more deeply with them.
Well, if it's okay with you, I'd be happy to role play and then we'll end the call
I
today.
would love it.
Okay. So Karen, tell me, you have a 20 or $30 million property. What's causing you to consider selling?
Their grandkids. So one of their family members lives in England, London. And I said, well, I've got somebody in London I can introduce you to so you can buy a property there. And they said, well, we're thinking that we love having our whole family here because they'll have, 20 people at their house at the same time. And they say, however, it's getting to be too far of a flight for everybody, especially since we've got two grandkids in London. They're only going to get older. They're never going to be able to come much in the future, blah, blah, blah. So
What
that's
what would what would it do for you if you sold this property and bought something in London?
give us more time with our grandkids, which is what brings us joy.
And how does that make you feel?
We live for it. That's what we live for now.
When would you like to get the house on the market?
Well, we don't need to do it immediately because we still have people coming over and we would like to be able to get the most we can for it.
Let me ask you the question again. When would you like to get it on the market? When would you like to buy a house in London so you could spend all those moments with your grandkids? When would you like to do that? Sooner or later?
Oh, probably a little bit later. We want to make sure that they're staying in London before we
And
change.
when would that be?
Probably within the next year or two.
Okay. So you think that within 12 months you'll have a better understanding if they're going to actually stay in London, which means you would want to buy in London at that time.
Pretty much, yes.
Great. When should I follow up with you again?
Oh, I keep in touch with them regularly.
I asked a question. I don't care.
Oh,
Remember, it's not about you, Karen. It's not about us. And
okay, you're
agents,
right,
that's
you're
what
right.
we always think about. What I care about. It's not about me.
Okay,
So
that's
I'm gonna.
interesting
I'm always
because
gonna. I'm always gonna ask the question.
that's a good question because I said I can introduce you to the person in London so that you can start getting an idea now. And he said, no, I'll reach out to you when I'm ready. So I guess he's not ready. I don't
So
know. Maybe I asked it wrong.
when people say I don't know, I'm gonna ask you if you did. What would it be?
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
See, I'm gonna ask a question for the purpose of getting an answer. And guess what? I'm not gonna let anybody not answer my question. Why? Because I'm asking it because it matters.
Yeah.
I don't ask and talk just for talking's sake. Because I care. I created. I need a plan. I need to know when to follow up because you matter to me. Your time with your grandkids matter to me, and if that matters to you, then we're in alignment, right? And then so all I'm asking is when do you think you'll know? And at that point, I'll give you a call to say give you an update on the value. Would that make sense?
Oh, that's great. I like that. Thank you.
Okay. Cool, cool. Uh, Again, you're going to stay in touch, I'm sure, and you're going to get that listing, $20 million listing, I'm sure. And we'll talk about it next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Well, we'll keep in touch plenty between now and then, of course.
My point, I hope you saw, and maybe you can put it in chat. What did you hear in this conversation? Did I say much? Did I tell her much? In a 1 hour conversation, I've actually recorded some of our conversations. In 1 hour, I asked 67 questions in 1 hour. Why? Because I'm going to get information and I'm going to help you self discover you need me. That's how it works. So at the fast track, Jen, no, you don't get a certification. Yeah, I guess you do. You get a completion certification. Um, when you join, and if the fast track works for you, and if you're in KW, you can join KW Real Estate Planner after that. And those do have internal certifications. Just so you know, in the future, we're going to be opening up the Real Estate Wealth Hive, which is another training organization that's agnostic that anybody can join. And there'll be, if you're a real estate planner, you get a free pass to that organization. If you're not a real estate planner, you're going to have to take prerequisite classes for that to get certified. And then you earn a right to get an invitation to become a real estate wealth advisor. That's deep dive and training that you're going to get. And that's coming out soon in March. So, but I would recommend that, yeah, you join that. Once you're a planner, is there a training for an advisor? Yes. Once you become a real estate planner and you get fully certified, you're going to earn an invitation ticket to become a real estate wealth advisor. Yeah, and that's 3 hour classes at a minimum. Right? We're still building out the rest of them today. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we invite you to join us in our fast track class. Please do. Send us a message. Let us know what you thought about today. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I went over time. Thank you again. Have a great day. Aloha.